Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this special Everyday Heroes edition of Let's Get Vaccinated on HoodMed Chats. I'm Dr. Nisi Hudson, Chair and Science Director of Hood Medicine Initiative.
I'm Jonathan White, co-founder and director of policy and engagement.
Hood Medicine is a nonprofit collective of scientists, physicians, hackers, and assorted geeks focused on health equity and reducing the spread of dis and misinformation.
Our HoodMed Chats podcast is a platform to bring health experts and activists together to bring real talk and mad science to our communities.
Today, we'll be highlighting the New Yorker documentary and this year's official selection at Sundance Film Festival, the Panola Project. It's about Dorothy Oliver's heroic vaccination campaign, mobilizing her entire community to get vaccinated. And here's a quick clip from the film.
We in this rural area got to fight for our life, with this COVID going on. I mean, it changed everything. If we can't get the shots, we're gonna have sick folks. That's just the bottom line. Hey there, how you doing?
If we bring the vaccination to Panola, will you take it?
We gotta get these shots. 2 or 3 people getting it ain't gonna help. Everybody got to try to get vaccinated.
Hey, how y'all doing?
You doing all right?
Yes, ma'am.
You done had your shot?
I just really haven't made my mind up to take it for real.
I tell anybody, don't take no chances. We in this rural area got to fight.
Today,
Go ahead.
Today we're honored. This is a huge honor especially for us as an organization. Miss Dorothy, you embody everything that we as an organization have wanted to do since the very beginning. So we're honored to welcome you, Dorothy Oliver. She's a retiree from the rural town of Panola, Alabama. She's here to talk with us about how she worked to get nearly 99% of her community vaccinated. Miss Dorothy is an incredible achievement. Miss Dorothy's incredible achievement, overcoming the lowest vaccination rates in the entire country, was recognized as a Best of Humanity Award from USA Today, delivered with a personal address from Dr. Anthony Fauci. She was also highlighted by Oxfam in connection to their work improving investment in rural Black communities in order to fight systemic inequalities. We welcome Ms. Dorothy here today and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We'd also like to welcome Panola Project filmmakers Rachael DeCruz and Jeremy Levine. Rachael is the Associate Director of Advocacy at Boston University Center for Anti-Racist Research. Her work as a writer and opinionist has been published in the Huffington Post, The Stranger, and the Seattle Times, and she previously served as Chief of Staff at Race Forward, the country's largest multiracial racial justice organization. And last but certainly not least, we have Jeremy Levine with us, an award-winning filmmaker and assistant professor at Suffolk University. His film seeks to unearth buried tragedies in a society in active denial of its own past. Mic drop. An Emmy Award-winning filmmaker with 2-time Sundance Institute Fellow, his work has been screened at over 100 film festivals and broadcast worldwide. In 2006, he co-founded the Brooklyn Filmmakers Collective, a community of professional filmmakers dedicated to collaboration and mutual support. Thank you both for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. So excited to be here.
Can't wait for the conversation.
Ms. Dorothy, we'd like to start with you. We're so honored you agreed to join us to give us an opportunity to give you your flowers, well deserved. Can you tell us a little bit about how this journey began with you?
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. When it started back when they was getting ready to start to get the vaccination, and I was working, just thinking, and I guess praying and the whole works, trying to figure out what I could do to help my community. I've told them many times how it actually came to me. I would work every day. I would get up at night, I go to bed at night, get up in the morning, still trying to figure out. So then I finally said, I know what I need to do. And I just started to calling the peoples before they started the shot, to educate them about it and to let them know how serious this virus was. Just kind of letting them know it's important to get the shot. That's where we started. Just started to call on the phone. And then when they started the shots, I went to start to make appointments and taking them to the appointment. They didn't have a ride. Whatever we need to do to make sure they got nation, that's what I did. It was a long journey because we had to work even harder to try to get the vaccination site up to Panola town, and we always on the back burner. And I mean, just that just way it is. But I thank God that He put in my heart. I know it was Him that did it because He gave me the strength to do what I did. And I still thank Him, and I'm continuing working every day to get everybody a booster and everything. So that's where it started off. And then we went from there to going door to door, making sure people didn't come to the site or when able to come, we would take them. But we started off taking names. I have a store here in Panola, and I started taking names who wanted to have the vaccination and had everything ready. When they brought the site to Panola, the people was ready and lined up ready to get the vaccination. So, but we actually went to their house, made sure make sure they understood what we had to do.
I love that. So you worked hand in hand with the county commissioner, Drusilla Russ Jackson, to run this vaccine coordination center from the convenience store that they feature in the film that you run out of a mobile home. How did you get connected with her? And I guess why was it's so important for you to make sure that people in your community had access to the vaccine?
Well, I guess because I've always worked in my community to make sure things happen in my community. So, and I guess the closest that I am with the community, that's what made me actually start. They look for me to do all the time. Something come up, call Miss Dorothy. Call Miss Dorothy. She can get it done. That's kind of the way it was. And Miss Commissioner Jackson, she's our commissioner. So when something going on, I always call her and said, look, all I got to do is call her. I need help, or I think we need to do this. And she always willing to do it. So that's where I know. Excuse me.
You did what?
I've been knowing her ever since I've been over here, Miss Jackson, Commissioner Jackson.
So how did you get the word out at first?
How we got the word out, we first started calling on the phone, but when we got the vaccination site and stuff up, we actually put out flyers. We made flyers and made sure that we posted in the store, we posted in surrounding, in the post office, we posted in different places, at the community center, and we passed them out to different churches. That was our biggest way to get the message to the people. We call the pastors and make sure the pastor got with their, members and stuff to make sure they know that the site was coming to Panola.
Ms. Dorothy, it's interesting that you mentioned anytime there's something going on, they look for Miss Dorothy. And I think as members of this community, members of Black community, we know that, like, if there's something that needs to happen in the community, you always look for the elders, right? Because the elders know what's going on. The elders know who you need to talk to. So it's just interesting to hear that play out again as something that has just been part of our upbringing, our history, since forever. One of our core tenets as an organization is we all we got. So it's beautiful to hear your story and see how you envisioned that and rolled up your sleeves to do whatever was needed to be done for your friends and your neighbors. What has the reception to your work been like in Panola?
It's been great. And I was looking for so many of them to say, kind of resist it, but since I started, everybody just looked like me. I had no problems, we had one or two that's kind of was determined they wasn't going to take it, and like that, but it's been a journey, I can tell you, but I did what I had to do. It was to close the store, that's what I did, to go and make sure if I hadn't heard from this household, I closed the store and go do what I got to make sure they know what's going on and what they had to do.
All right, so Dr. Hudson, note to the Ad Council, FDA, CDC.
Yeah.
Next time we have one of these issues, let's look for grandmas instead of celebrities.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Rachel and Jeremy, you both project, and you did a beautiful job bringing her story to life on screen. Rachel, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your work at the BU Center for Anti-Racist Research and how it's been impacted by the pandemic to start?
Yeah, so the BU Center for Anti-Racist Research was founded by Dr. Ibram X. Kendi about a year and a half ago at this point, sort of in the midst of the racial justice uprisings that we saw after the kind of, pretty intense police violence that we witnessed a little bit ago. And so we were launched and started kind of in the midst of a pandemic. So in many ways, that's all we've known as an organization. We kind of started completely remotely, and we're now
Ditto.
working for days a week. Yeah, it's a weird new world we're living in. But the first project that we really launched at the center was around tracking the impact of COVID on communities of color, just recognizing that there was a huge gap in data about the impact the pandemic was having on our communities across the country. And we wanted to be able to fill that gap. And so we've since kind of built from there. I'm working on some of our advocacy work, which is really about building relationships and kind of building out a network of partners, grassroots organizations, as well as individuals who just are interested in getting engaged and want to take action to support anti-racism. We're kind of creating some pathways and some infrastructure to be able to let folks get plugged into the great work that's happening both locally and across the country.
And how did you hear about Dorothy, and sort of what was the moment where you knew like her story needed to be shared with the world?
Yeah, so Jeremy and I were living down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama at the time, and Tuscaloosa is about an hour and a half or so away from Panola, maybe a little bit further. And we were reading, well, first of all, it was just like, we were at this moment in time where we knew that a vaccine was coming out. We were not seeing people in Alabama getting vaccinated at the rate that we would want to in order to feel safe. And we were really looking for a story that could bring us some hope and inspiration in what otherwise felt like a pretty challenging time. And so we actually read about Dorothy in a New York Times article. Once we heard about her work, we were like, that sounds really interesting. That sounds like it could make a great film. We drove out to Panola. We tried to find her number online. We couldn't find it. So we just drove out to the convenience store and knocked on her door one day and just started a really beautiful conversation with her. It ended up being like a 3-hour-long conversation or something like that. And Jeremy and I had been pretty isolated in Tuscaloosa at the time. So this was one of our first interactions with a human outside of the two of us in a while. And Dorothy just embraced us right away. She welcomed us in like family. She was really, you can hear it whenever she talks, she's really passionate about the work that she does. And it was clear that there are some deep kind of structural and systemic needs in Panola that weren't being met. And Dorothy was kind of taking it upon herself to really fill in those gaps for her community. And so we wanted to be able to share her story with a broader audience.
Uh-oh. I think you're muted, John.
I'm sorry about that.
There you go.
I was saying that's just so amazing, and it's expected too. This is just how we operate in these type of communities. We're there for each other and try to protect one another. Jeremy, you're an accomplished Emmy Award-winning filmmaker who focuses on bringing to life the stories that maybe otherwise wouldn't be told. What was your process, and how did you approach this subject?
Yeah, thanks. Well, I should add, we show up to Dorothy's store that day, and, Dorothy's on the phone trying to get somebody to sign up to get vaccinated, right? I mean, it was clear from the beginning just what a kind of force of nature Miss Dorothy is. And so, I think right away we were like, this is a story that needs... it can't just be Rachel and I who are in despair about the state of the world, and that there's incredible work being done by folks like Miss Dorothy around the country, and that we all could kind of use some of that good medicine. We could all use some kind of good hope and inspiration about real things that we can do as individuals in our own communities, as we also kind of work to combat these much more entrenched structural issues. So yeah, in terms of the approach for the film, I mean, this was, Dorothy's incredible. We wanted this to be the Dorothy show. We took our cues from Miss Dorothy. It happened very quickly. I tend to spend a very, very long time on my projects. Dorothy's just doing so much all the time that it was like, oh, we have to start filming like next week. And, she's got a pop-up clinic coming a few days after that. And so, all of a sudden it's just like we had, what maybe could be months or years of production in the way I often work into just like boom, we've got, there's this incredible story that emerged from within a few weeks that was really just a testament to the amount of work that Dorothy was doing in her community day after day.
It's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. How did you, let me see, what spoke to you about Dorothy and her presence? What did you gather about her connection to her community, and why was that so overpowering for you?
Yeah, I mean, right away, it's clear this incredible trust and will. And there's just like, it's a small town. It's about 350 people in Panola. And it's clear that Dorothy not only kind of knows everybody, but everyone knows Miss Dorothy and everyone respects Miss Dorothy. And so, I mean, it was incredible to see the work that was being done in a town like Panola, where really like everything's working against the town, right? Everything's working against what Miss Dorothy and Drusilla Jackson are doing. The closest hospitals, 40 miles away. There's not an opportunity for folks to get the vaccine, many of whom don't have a car. There's not clear information. There's not great kind of infrastructure in terms of internet. And basically this is the result of hundreds of years of disinvestment. And it's amazing, right? It's just a miracle that Dorothy is able to get 99% of her town vaccinated in a state that does not have a lot of, is way more towards the bottom of vaccination rates. And she's able to do that with everything working against her. And I think that just shows the potential we have here if we put our efforts and we put our resources into amazing leaders like Dorothy and like Miss Jackson. Like we could be so much further along here on this awful COVID journey that we're all on. We could be so much closer to, being able to resume some semblance of normal life, which I suppose we're doing anyways, but obviously at great cost.
Yeah. I'm going to drop another clip from the documentary that actually speaks to exactly what you were just saying about Miss Dorothy.
I just felt like I had to do it because the government, nobody does enough in this area. This area here is majority black. Kind of put you on the back burner. That's just it. I mean, you don't have to put nothing else with that. That's just it. I don't have to elaborate on that one.
So the back burner is where they put y'all. That's what you said, Miss Dorothy.
As you went around to your neighbors to get them signed up for vaccination, what type of misinformation or hesitancy were you hearing from them?
Going around, a lot of them were just, some of them said it's just politics. Just, got so much negative stuff, they thought it was just politics. And some of them said, hey, heard they couldn't. One lady told us she had two young girls, they was in high school. She had heard that you can't have babies if you take the shot, just all kind of stuff. We heard all kind of, I'm gonna wait, don't do to anybody else before I get mine. We had all kind of, people just saying different stuff, but through it all, we was able to convince them to do it. With no internet hardly, out here you don't have internet much. A lot of people just don't at all. So, we was up against a lot of barriers, but God brought us through it. So
how did you overcome those fears? I know, and I can tell you are your faith in God carries you tremendously, and I'm sure that played part of the role. What else did you use to try and convince these folks who didn't have access to the resources that Dr. Hudson and I have, and that many people in America have? How did you convince them to trust in your belief and in your faith in God to get this life-saving vaccination?
But what I did, I just continued to talk to them, and let them know how serious it was. They know I'm a serious person. That's another thing. They know I had been here so long, done so many other projects. They knew that I wasn't gonna tell them nothing wrong. First of all,
they knew you ain't playing. That's what they knew. They knew Miss Dorothy ain't playing.
That's right. They knew that I wasn't gonna tell them anything wrong. They knew that she done this before. And they said, well, Miss Dorothy, I had some of them tell me, Dorothy, if you said, I'm taking it. So a lot of them even went that far and said, if you said, I know it's gonna be okay. So one guy that was real ugly to us, I just ain't gonna take it. And he come back after he finally taken it, and he came back and said, I just want to say, Miss Dorothy, you all right with me. He said, I'll never doubt you all right with me.
That's what I'm talking
about. We heard a lot of stuff, but I like I say, and I think they trust me because I'm always working in the community, and they know I'm gonna do what's right. That was one of the main things, and they knew if they need it, I'm gonna make it happen. I don't have internet, I had a lot of them to tell me that I can't schedule appointment. I can't. I don't know who to. You saw it in the film. One girl said, "Thank God, y'all, we didn't know how to go by getting the vaccination, so it was just a lot, a lot. But we kept pushing. We never stopped. So
we're gonna look at Miss Dorothy in action really quickly and see how she worked her magic to convince people.
You done had your shot?
I just really haven't made my mind up to take it for real.
You think it gonna do something? What's your hesitation?
You had the virus yet?
Yeah, I done had it.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't enough for you to make your mind up? I'm gonna get you in a minute. This is what you need to think about, though. I got through it that time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't take that chance no more.
I would think about that.
Because you see it can hit you, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't take that chance.
I go
For a long time, I wanted to kiss.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I done heard people saying they get sick, but
Some people say they arm hurt. Their arm gonna hurt sometimes. I didn't have no problem with mine at all. Look at that smiling at me. You know I know you don't. You ready to take that shot?
You put me down.
Yep, put him down. See, I got him.
Ew, it's a bit of an echo. Sorry about that. So that's Miss Dorothy in action. So we can see convince the people to make it happen. What I love so much about your journey is how much it demonstrates, what should be obvious in any pandemic is that our best defense is actually giving a damn about our fellow man and having the compassion to realize that some people do need a push. We saw in the film that you told another person about how you lost your niece to COVID, which we're saddened to hear, obviously. But did you feel like sharing your own personal connection and experience, kind of help people realize, what the stakes really were if they didn't get vaccinated?
Yes. I lost my niece, and really hit me hard. I'm serious because she was fine, had some little underlying health condition, but what happened, she just got sick like a Friday on her birthday, you know, and then she thought it was just a cold. So she just had a little simple cold, and then the next day she was a little worse. And then that I think like that was that Friday, that Sunday night, that Monday morning, 4 days, she was gone. And that was enough for me right there. This stuff is serious, you know. It don't wait. It don't pick nobody, you know. It don't pick me to get or you to get. It'll get anybody. So, and that's kind of the way I told them, you know, we need to look at how quick people's. And I told them, if you don't believe me, look on the news every day. We got thousands and thousands of people dying, you know. And so I just kind of kept telling them stuff like that, and it worked, you know. So we just glad we got a lot of them vaccinated.
You also shared the tragic story of losing your husband, and we're so sorry to hear about that loss as well. That's tremendously tragic. You know better than most the risk of not having access to care and treatment.
That's
Yeah, you need being in an isolated rural setting. It's even more prevalent of an issue for folks in your community. How did this play into you and how you talked to your friends and your neighbors about the risk of getting infected and needing critical COVID care that may be hard for members of your community to get to?
yes, yeah. I talked to them about it because it's so far, and that's what I kept telling them. You know, if you don't get it, you already, if you ain't got your shot, it's gonna be hard, quicker for you to get this disease. And I talked to them about it. I said, look, you going to a hospital is 40 miles from us, right at 40
Mhm.
miles. But that's just a small hospital, which ain't gonna do you too much good if you get the COVID. You got to go 75 miles, you know. So,
Wow.
and I just constantly tell them that, you know, this is serious. And I even told them about my husband, you know, how that hurted me because they couldn't get him to Birmingham. You know, Birmingham is probably about, what, 2 hours, I guess, from us,
Ugh.
about 2 hours. But see, still, he was already in the hospital at Tuscaloosa. And I felt like they could have, you know, flew him to Birmingham, but they said he wouldn't have made it to Birmingham. And I told them about all that, how serious it was, and how further you have to go to get care. And a lot of people, you know, they agree because we had one closed hospital about 2 miles from us, and they closed it down. So that made us have to go further. I made sure I stressed that to them. We had one hospital closed, but we don't have one now close to us.
Hmm.
You know, Dr. Hudson, it's crazy because I think, you know, folks that live where we are presently, you know, these you know metropolises, these large urban centers and whatnot. I think we take for granted the fact that we can just, you know, drive down 10 minutes maybe and get to a hospital at any time. Meanwhile, we have, you know, our elders, you know, history makers that we're losing because they just can't get access to a facility, you know, quick enough.
Yeah.
And it's just tragic.
So Jeremy, with the pandemic, you obviously had so much to mind considering, you know, what's been revealed over these past 2 years about the depth of depravity of humanity right now, and the geopolitical nightmare scenario we're living in. Um, like, if it was me, I would have went down the dark spiral, obviously. But like, what was it about this story that like inspired you to center hope and like human compassion instead?
Yeah, that's what I would normally do as well. It's my predilection for whatever reason, but I just think I couldn't do it. I think neither, like Rachel and I were just like we can't we can't handle this anymore, right? Like we're watching TV shows that are making us feel good because like the weight of the world right now is just so heavy, and and that, you know, there's obviously great importance in telling stories about huge issues, and often that means that you're telling stories about problems and all these things that are wrong in the world. And also, I don't know, at this moment in time in our history, it just feels like it's deflating. It just makes us kind of like curl into our quarantine couch, and that's not we can afford to be doing right now. And so seeing what Dorothy does day after day, seeing the way that she talks to people. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit here, but just the ways in which she, goes in to a conversation with people who might have questions, they might have concerns, they might even be like on the opposite side of, how they're thinking about vaccines. But she shows up no matter what, with love, with respect, with compassion, with a good sense of humor, with lots of prodding. She never stops. And it's amazing to see, right? Like, it's incredible. In the film, her conversation with Denzel, I don't know, it goes on for maybe 3 minutes. In real life, it was probably closer to 90 minutes, but to move somebody from being on the fence to being a little skeptical to being like, okay, I've signed up for the shot in 90 minutes, that's amazing. And it shows again what's possible, what we can do if we're willing to get off of that very sunken in couch cushion and get our butts to work there. And Dorothy mentioned this man who, we had filmed with too, who was way more, most people in Panola we met were just like, yes, please, I want the shot. It's just so hard for us to get the shot. Denzel was a little on the fence, and then there was this other man who was way more just like y'all are gonna become zombies, and going off into the wells of conspiracy theories. And my impression in that moment is just well, we might as well drive away, because this is nothing's gonna happen here, right? And even in this conversation, there's just this amazing interaction where they're disagreeing so fundamentally, and yet they're also telling each other that they love each other, right? And that is so different from what we're used to in all of these Twitter wars and people yelling at each other on TV. And we didn't end up including it because we wanted to get this film out quickly, and by the time we released the film, he still hadn't gotten a shot. But as Miss Dorothy mentioned, many months later, many more visits later, a guy who was fully in the no, there's no way you're getting me vaccinated, is now vaccinated. And so right, there's hope here. There's a way out. And so the very long answer to your question here is just I needed this. I think we all need this so that we know what's possible, so we can kind of keep on fighting.
So absolutely tremendous. Yeah, it is. Rachel, can you talk to us about the power of storytelling in anti-racist work? Why is it important to shine a light on the struggles of disenfranchised communities and turn the lens towards the broken systems and racist institutions that perpetuate the inequities in our world?
I love that question so much. Where to begin? Storytelling feels to me like the heartbeat of anti-racist work. I don't think we get to another kind of world without telling stories in ways that actually bring people along, in ways that move people, in ways that touch people, right? The dominant narrative in our country is that we see the inequities in our communities because of individual failures or community level failures, right? When the reality is that there's actually a whole series of decisions, investments, policies that have been made that have perpetuated racist outcomes in communities, right? And so it's not individuals' faults, it's not the fault of communities, it's the fault of people who have been in power, right? And so I think for me, the way that we actually get more people to understand that, to be thinking about that critically, is through telling personal stories and showing the ways in which individual folks are kind of connected to these broader societal structures and issues, right? With the Panola Project, we see the ways in which Panola as a community has been set up for failure, right? And not because of any fault of Panola's, but because of our government, and the really intentional choices that have been made that led Panola to be in a situation where they're really cut off from access to resources that they need. Saying Dorothy's personal and the ways in which she as an individual is combating those kind of structural forces, I think is a really beautiful way for people to begin to see both the agency that we have as individuals, but also to be able to connect it to the structural, right? I think it's so easy for us to get disillusioned by the sheer scale and like scope of the problems that we're up against. And one of the things that was just so refreshing about Dorothy and about Panola is like, you know, it's like there was barrier after barrier, like Jeremy said, and Dorothy just kept rolling up her sleeves and being like, okay, well, what are we gonna do? What's within our power to control that will allow us to get around that barrier? How do we get around that barrier? Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of organizing work that we need to do while we're building towards some of the actual policy level changes that we need to see shift in order to be able to redistribute and reallocate resources across this country. So I can't like emphasize enough the importance of stories and the way that stories just allow an opening for people to be able to think differently, to be able to put themselves in somebody else's shoes, to see a community they might not have come across or accessed before. I just think there's so much power when we kind of move into that really deeply personal and we show the ways that that personal can also be universal.
And can I just add to that, like, stories are constantly being told whether or not, right, we're actively involved in that storytelling. And so so I think it's really important that we are always working towards telling stories that are going to move us forward as a society here.
I love that point. Yeah. Miss Dorothy, what was it like for you when they told you they wanted to do the documentary?
I was just kind of a little shocked there at first, and then I was just excited. I said, because I know if you get out there, it's going to help somebody else, you know. And I was just real thrilled about it because I know by doing the documentary, it'll help somebody all over the United States if they get out there. And I was in Birmingham, Alabama, and we was at a film festival, and the guy was telling about his friend, and that was the guy I think that was hosting it, I believe. And he said that his friend said he wasn't going to get it, but he looked at that film, that document, and decided he was going to get the shot. So to me, it felt good helping some, you know that film was going to help somebody else. So.
What was the process like? Did you enjoy the actual like filming process?
Yeah, because I guess like Jeremy them say, I was a mover. I was ready. I'm always on the go. I'm always on the go, and I'm always making things happen. So I really was excited, you know, that they wanted to do it, and I guess by me always doing stuff, it would just come natural to me, you know. I felt good. I did, you know, it was just good knowing that I was going to help somebody else. Just like the people's on the road today, I had to get them today. So they down there fixing the road. I went to court last week to the courthouse to a meeting, and I say, Miss Jackson, guy, I need you, Dorothy. I need you. He said they hadn't fixed our road. We got to go all the way around. I said, well, I'll be there. And I got up and spoke at the meeting. Believe me, they fixing the road today.
Yes. Yes. I love it.
Miss Dorothy.
Yeah, he said, you got them down there.
I wish you knew,
Miss Dorothy.
I wish you knew how much you're touching me and Dr. Hudson's heart, because everything that you are is embodied in our vision for the work that we're doing. Everything, like, you know, you got to get your hands dirty. You got to be there for people. You have to, you know, you can't accept no as an answer. You just got to find a way to solve the problem, whatever path you have to take. We are so super honored to have you here. Like you are just like the super grandma. Like you are the epitome of, you know, the Black grandma who will not let anyone suffer anything when she has the opportunity and the ability to get in there and make somebody do something. You know, this is amazing. Absolutely.
You're killing
amazing.
me.
I'm sorry. Anyway, how
you know I'm a gummy bear. Come on. You're killing me.
Miss Dorothy, how do you think the finished documentary represented Panola and the people who live there?
I think, well, honey, I have talked to so many. I have got so many phone calls. They was talking about Panola. I tell you, I think it gonna help Panola. Everybody come to
That's
me or
awesome.
call me on the phone. By
Good.
doing that film, you gonna help Panola. We may get internet in Panola. They were just all excited. And truthfully, I think people are listening a little better now in Panola because um, I went to a meeting just a couple weeks ago, and they was talking about make sure we get broadband internet in Panola. The commission is talking about it, so hopefully we can get something done. We on another project right now. We're working with the commissioners trying to get stone shelter, and so now they actually gonna get stone shelters. I don't know how long it's gonna take them, but they gonna get stone shelters in the different rural areas. So they got it in
Oh,
the big areas, but in the rural areas. So that's a plus
finally.
Definitely.
for us. So,
That's
Wow.
huge.
She is killing it, everyone. Be more like Miss Dorothy for a change. Jeremy, I think this film connected with so many people.
I think we had no idea what the response would be. We just knew we needed to tell this story, and I think it's resonated for so many others because it's hit that same chord for other people. I mean, Dorothy's hears from way more of them, right? Like people are calling and sending letters, but there's people all over the country who are inspired by Dorothy, who are like, oh, I actually can do something. There's people we're hearing about who are like, oh, well, my mother in rural Virginia has been doing that in her community, and so Dorothy's incredible. She's one of a kind, and like there's these incredible people everywhere who are doing this work. And I think we hope that in some small way it can be a way of celebrating Dorothy and kind of all of these other incredible women, primarily it seems, but all kinds of folks. But it does seem like it's a lot of like really incredible Black women who are picking up
Yes.
the
Yes.
pieces and doing some really really hard work
I
to
mean,
to keep communities together. So yeah, I don't know. I just think people love the work that Dorothy's doing.
we do.
I'm so happy you mentioned that because I think we don't do enough to recognize how Black women have held, our communities together, have been the backbone of these communities for so long, received very little reward in return, and haven't even looked for or expected it. They just go out there and do the work because they know that protecting our communities, protecting our families, is at the core of what our community, really really means. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you. Before we close out, I wanted to talk to you all about what's next for you and the projects that you're working on. So, Jeremy, I'll start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about the Brooklyn Filmmakers Collective that you started and what projects you're working on next? Also,
Yeah,
by
sure.
the way, shout out to Suffolk University. I'm a Suffolk University Law School grad.
Oh
Oh
wow,
yeah.
amazing. That's so cool. Yeah, I'm new at Suffolk. I started a group called the Brooklyn Filmmakers Collective a long time ago, 14 years, something like that.
Oh, wow.
With some friends, really as a way of just being like, this can be lonely work. We all get so like deep into these projects we're working on, and we need that community, right? It's the common thread here is community, right? We all need community. We all need support. We all need to be able to kind of come together and lift each other up. And so it's been an amazing group that's taken on a life of its own. Folks meet together weekly, share work, ask for advice. Folks work on each other's projects, and yeah, there's been just incredible work that's come out of it, and it's something that's helped kind of keep me going through what is a pretty difficult career choice of making films, I would say. Do you want to? I've got way too many projects in the works, but maybe I'll pass the baton to Rachel, who we're working on a feature together right now
Oh,
that
cool.
we're really excited about.
Yeah, so we are working on a feature documentary tentatively titled Nine, which follows Gerald Hankerson, who is a Black 53-year-old community leader, as he's fighting to get his former cellmate and father figure and mentor figure in prison, while also simultaneously working to pass legislation that would provide a pathway for others to be able to come home too. And I think similar to Panola Project, the film is touching on these really big social justice, racial justice issues, but we're going to do it through the lens of this kind of personal relationship and really beautiful and loving bond that these two men forged in a very harsh and cruel environment, and the ways that that relationship and that love really impacts both of them and has turned them into the men that they are today.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, Miss Dorothy, we know your goal is to get Panola like 100% vaccinated and ensure all eligible residents have their booster shots. What are your plans for the booster clinic? How's that going?
Well, I would say it's a little slow because they slow about coming out of the rural area. But I did get a phone call, and she told me she's working on it to get a clinic up here in Panola. I was hoping for this week, but she said hopefully they'll get it next week. So that's my goal. I'm intent to get those people all in with their booster shot, because we have some that got it, but a lot of them still got the boosters yet because we hadn't brought a clinic up where that's the problem. A lot of people don't have, some of them don't have cars, and a lot of people just, got to get up by them, to go places to get it. So that's my job. That's my next project, is make sure we get them all that booster shot and then the second booster shot. So
yeah, we're going to do everything we can to help you in that effort as well. Miss Dorothy, can you leave us with your message to other Black and Brown communities on how and why they should take the initiative and do what they can to protect their own vulnerable neighborhoods? What would you say to inspire others to do the work that you did?
Well, I would say to them, just don't give up. Show the love, because people need this love to be shown. Is one of the things, and I would say to the governor is the main issue, who I would like to say something to, because it takes the people that in leadership. They got to move.
You better tell them.
You had Miss Jackson. She didn't hesitate. She's our commissioner. She didn't hesitate to try to help do what she could do to make sure our community get vaccinated. So I would say to them, you got to work on the leadership first. When we got leadership to work with us, you easy to get discouraged when you don't have that leadership not doing what they supposed to do. So, and I think that helped me a whole lot too, even though I'm a worker anyway, but Commissioner Jackson helped me a lot too by, when I asked her, she didn't hesitate to do what she needed to do, to make sure I get what I need to make it happen. And I would say to everybody else, to go ahead. Don't stop. Try to work with your community, try to show love, and communicate with people. You don't know how people's feeling, you don't know what's going on with them. You don't know what's on their mind. So you got to talk to people. And my husband tell me, you don't know that person. I go to talk to them. You don't know what people need to talk. People need to hear, and talk to them. And you will be surprised how people will open up to you and say, I'm glad you talked to me. I got this going on, so got a lot going on right now. People's depressed and everything. So we just continue to talk to them, encourage. Encourage is the most important thing.
So I hear from you, we got to talk to people, we got to listen to people, but at the center of both of those things has to be love. And if love's not at the center of that, then we're not going to be able to do the things we need to do for each other. That's so important.
That's the word.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And if you didn't already know what a grand hero Miss Dorothy is, we are also on a mission to get her nominated for a presidential medal. This is a petition started by Rachel and Jeremy, and I'm going to drop it in the chat, and you better sign it today. Because I don't know if there's anyone more deserving right now. So please go check that out in our chat. We're just so blessed and so honored to have had you come on today. I hope that for the people that will get to see this, first of all, they'll watch the documentary. Please go watch that now. And secondly, that that they'll be inspired to care. Because if there's one thing that we know about coronavirus, quick science minute at the end, is that it attacks people indiscriminately. It doesn't care about our political beliefs. It doesn't care about your station in life or how much money you have in the bank or where you even live. And definitely it doesn't matter now that we've removed all of the travel restrictions. Shout out to TSA. It's going worldwide. It's traveling wherever we go, it goes. And so in a global airborne pandemic, we can't, forget how interconnected that we all are. And if we do, COVID will remind us. It's a shame that it's happening now in an era where we all are so dismissive of each other's value as human beings. But I really hope that, having you on and highlighting stories like yours will help people find their own humanity in the work that you've done. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Dorothy, before I close this out, I just have to say, so I got a little issue with my township, so I may be sending you a plane ticket just to come up to New Jersey, come to this township meeting with me. We'll talk details. I got a guest bedroom you can stay in.
That's the new T-shirt. It's gonna be. Don't make me call Miss Dorothy.
Don't make me call Miss Dorothy. Anyhow, I just want to say thank you, Rachel and Jeremy, for highlighting the story and bringing it to all of our eyes and all of our attention. Miss Dorothy, you are the representation of love that we have known in Black communities throughout our entire history. It is the reason why we have thrived. It is the reason why we have survived. It is the reason why we continue to try to be the best we can possibly be. It's because of the love that you've shown to your community and to everyone that you know will benefit from the love and care and concern that you have for them. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to let everybody know.
No, thank you.
You did the work that we signed up to do, that Dr. Hudson and I signed up to do almost 2 years ago. You did that work unprompted. Well, I can't even say it's unprompted. You did it prompted by your faith in Jesus Christ and your love for the people that you live with. And that is tremendous. And it's something that shouldn't be as rare as it is today. But like Dr. Hudson said, we live in a world where we don't recognize and appreciate the humanity of our neighbors. And you are one person who does and cares tremendously about everyone's humanity. So just thank you tremendously. I want to thank everybody who tuned in to this episode of Let's Get Vaccinated on Hood Med Chats. At Hood Medicine, we bring you real talk and mad science so you can make the right decisions to keep our loved ones safe. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to support our effort, donate to our cause, and find out about our next events. Visit hoodmedicine.org or check us out at Hood Medicine on Linktree. That's Linktree /Hood_medicine. Find us on social media at Hood Medicine on IG, Twitter, and TikTok. Hood Medicine Initiative, one word, on Facebook. And buy our gear on Bonfire. Thank you again. Stay safe. Please get vaccinated. Please get boosted. If you're 50 and over, get that second booster shot. Please. Thank you. God bless you all.
All right. Yeah.